Okay, so we're going to answer some questions from the anime page, give you our thoughts. First question is, do you think that every anime has the same rating standards?
I feel like this is actually a really interesting question.
Yeah, I thought this was a good one to start with.
I don't know. I mean, I think that different anime try to do different things, but I think most of the time, either something's trying to be very plot driven, be really good in that way.
Yep.
Character driven, or just entertaining.
Yep.
So I suppose, I feel like I just tend to value the characters a lot. So I'll sort of be biased against the other two, but I think really it's just about how well they do whatever it is they're doing. And if they can achieve that level of depth, I just feel like usually the character stories do more often, or can.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that those are basically the three main goals that they set out for. I interpreted the question a little differently. I was thinking of it more as, do numbers always mean the same thing? And I think that they should. Whenever I see lists or people rating things out of 10 on the internet, my biggest problem is seeing just scores being too high, scores being unimportant at the point where they are, scores being empty, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I remember over on my rap page, I saw accounts, and I remember one guy had 200 albums that he rated as a 10.
It's if you haven't watched or listened to
If you haven't listened to 20,000 albums,
that's
then
just not that important.
Exactly. So then the score of 10 out of 10 doesn't mean anything at that point. It doesn't tell you what you think is better than what. Yeah. Because even of those albums, and I remember asking the guy, hey, I think this album that you have as your 150th best album is better than this album you have as your 30th best album. Yeah. And he was violently disagreeing with me.
But he had both his 10s.
But he has them both at 10. So what's the point of the number if it doesn't let me know which one you think is better?
I very much enjoy that we've sort of went and restructured our mouths to just be tiers where everything in a tier.
Exactly. Anything that has a number should be reasonable to be put over anything else with the same number.
Yeah, I'm not going to...
That's the point of the number.
I mean, unless you, someone really wants to, I'm not going to, argue about someone putting anything that's in the same number over something else.
Yes.
So it does get us a lot of flack because it ends up with us having really low ratings.
Yeah, we end up having really low ratings, and if you follow this channel going forward, you'll see that things tend to be rated lower than on other pages, but a lot of pages and channels will have their top 20, their top 50 is all 9.5s and better.
Yeah.
And that just isn't enough distinction for my taste.
I mean, I think part of it is this rule system where it's a C is average and that's a 7 out of 10. Yeah. And it's I don't think a 7 out of 10 show should be average because then, I think there's so many shows that I love and it's so above average that I want to distinguish between them. And 8, 9, and 10 is not enough to distinguish between all the shows I think are above average.
Something that's a 5 should be the average quality of work that you expect from a professional animation studio putting out a solid piece of work. That should be what a 5 is. A 5 shouldn't be a bad score.
Yeah, and being insulted because a show you like is a 5, it's it's not that big a deal.
It's not that.
It's just
average.
An average show. I love a lot of my 5s.
Yeah, a lot of the shows that I have as 5s, I think did a lot of things well.
Some of the group, the main, really active group chat that I'm always watching, it's they're just fuck you, dude. You gave this show a 5, and I'm just I love this show.
Yeah, the show is good. It's just
average.
Yeah, but bottom line, you just gotta distinguish between your numbers, or else there's just no point.
Very true.
Next question. I don't really want to explain the end of Evangelion in simple and short terms. Unless you want to keep it really simple and short.
Though it says just the end of Evangelion, right?
Yes.
So it's just talking about the last scene.
Does he just mean
I think he just yeah, I think so. Which I don't think is that complicated. I mean, in my interpretation of it at least, is he's opened himself up to human connection and he's sort of viewing that as now the thing that's pushing him forward. And he sees Asuka, the person who sort of tormented him for the last 26 episodes, and he sort of lashes out, as we've seen him do several times in the movie, just again, and then she reaches out, and he's oh, okay, I suck. And then she says how disgusting, because, all their thoughts are together in instrumentality, and he just jerked off over her comatose body.
Yeah, which is not okay.
Which is, that line is actually improvised by the voice actress.
Is it?
Yeah, Anno told her was like, well, what would you say if someone jerked off over your comatose body? And she said that.
That is a valid response.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, fair.
I think I kept that short and sweet enough.
Yeah.
You're like, no, that was too
Yeah, that was good. How being in your 20s can affect your perception of an anime? I think this is a really good question. I think that the age you are, the stage of life you're in, can definitely have an effect on your perception of art. I know that it did for me very significantly in one instance, and that would be with Steins Gate.
There we go. Let's get hate.
Let's get hate. I might get some hate here. People tend not to like my Steins Gate takes.
Let's get hate.
But I watched Steins Gate a few months ago for the first time, and I am 23. Watching Steins Gate, I found a lot of it to be really immature. The relationships and dialogue between characters came off as just kind of cringy and immature to me. A lot of the relationships just seemed very not fleshed out, and the humor just didn't land for me at all. So I think that took away a bit from my enjoyment of it. Nonetheless, I still think it's a good show. I am not trying to shit on the show by any means. I think it did a lot of things really well. I don't see it as something that should be number 2 on Mal, for instance.
It's actually number 3. I think Hunter x Hunter beat it.
Hunter x Hunter took it out?
I think so.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but you have it as like 5 or 6?
I have it as like a high 6, yeah.
Oh, okay. So you love some of your 6s.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed the show. I think a lot of the character interactions were pretty immature. My biggest gripe with the show overall, this doesn't have as much to do with being in my 20s, but was Mayuri. I really don't like infantilization of women in anime. I don't see any reason that she couldn't have been a fleshed out and legitimate character with actual agency instead of just sitting there like a toddler and saying, Mayuri, don't understand, or just every 2 minutes. She just was such an emotional crux for the story, and I thought that her character was necessary and didn't do anything to make me feel anything for her in some of the more climactic moments of the show. Yeah, I wish she was just more fleshed out. I think that even if they were going to go with the romantic direction that they ended up going, I don't think there was anything that barred Mayuri from being a legitimate character. So that was sad. Yeah. But even still, I really like Steins Gate. I just don't like it as much as other people do.
I mean, this isn't related to the question, but I still think you should watch Mowaru Penguin Drum, because the like Mayuri character I thought was the Mayuri type character.
Yeah,
I thought it was pretty interesting because like she's like their little sister, and she kind of like does a lot of the like stuff around the house, and you kind of see her as like being this sort of entity that ties the whole family together, and that makes her so much more important because it's about 2 brothers and then their sister.
Yep.
And then she really ties everything together, and you really get that in a lot of the more like casual scenes.
Okay. My question is she young?
She is young.
Okay, because my other thing with Mayuri is meant to be 16 to 18.
Yeah.
But they treat her like an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
You know, so that was part of it. But yeah, I can see that. That'd be interesting. I'll probably watch that show eventually.
Then for how being in my 20s,
you just turned 20.
Just got here. Just
turned 20 less than a month ago.
Yeah. But I think that on a more positive note, I enjoyed Clonat After Story, sort of like when he's transitioning to like the adult world and the workforce a bit more than I think I would have in high school. And I thought it was an interesting way that they went about it, because it's kind of the most fast-paced part of the show. It just kind of happens like really quickly, and I kind of think that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
You know, like you're in high school and like all these things are happening and blah, 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 blah. But then you just kind of transition. You're just there.
Like, really quickly. I've went through that. And that is very much what happens. But his adjustment period was very realistic, I think. I liked it a lot.
And I thought it was interesting that part was sort of much more exciting than the actual like events that were happening when he was in high school.
Yeah.
I thought it was more interesting, at least for his character. And maybe that has to do with my age, maybe if I was in high school, I would have preferred the high school sections more.
Maybe.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
And then also Nana, I thought was a really good show to watch around my age because they're both 20 and it is sort of about transitioning to adulthood and more so looking at like relationships than career. Because Glenad moved really fast with like his relationship, whereas Nana doesn't necessarily do that as much. It's because it's 49 episodes from. It's like if those like 4 episodes of Glenad After Story were 47 episodes and had a fairly interesting female focus that you don't get a lot in tons of anime. So I enjoyed that one a lot.
Sure. I haven't seen Nana, so I'm not
You
much
should
input
watch-
there.
this is my selling Nana pitch to you.
Okay, yeah. I'll probably watch it eventually. It is Madhouse, so
It is
it's
Madhouse.
got to be a great show.
Yeah, like every other show, it's Madhouse.
Speaking of that, anime-related opinions that you strongly disagree with your brother on, and there aren't many of them.
There's not a
really.
ton.
Yeah, we don't really disagree all that strongly, especially in terms of rating.
And we don't joint lists because we're so similar.
Because we're so
in opinions.
similar, yeah, that it doesn't really affect anything.
Yeah,
I don't think we have any show rated more than 1 point apart.
I don't think so.
Yeah. We disagree on best studio though.
We do disagree on best studio, but I think we disagree on best studio and we disagree on like how to look at a villain. But I suppose we'll get into that on the villains list when we do that.
Yeah. Best studio is really just perspective too. I mean, my reasoning for Madhouse being the best studio is they have the best catalog. Although I would choose Shaft if I was going by what I think they contribute to the anime themselves in terms of animation, music, all that goes into the studio's actual work in adapting something into an anime.
Yeah, I mean, I think Shaft's a great pick as well. I go Kyoto Animation for anyone wondering there. But part of it is just I've seen so much more Kyoto Ani works.
Yeah.
And they're all consistently good.
Sure.
Like if I see a new show and it's like, okay, this is made by Kyoto Animation.
Yeah.
This is going to look amazing. Everything about the production is going to be amazing.
That is true.
If I see new show by Shaft, I don't necessarily know that. You know, not saying that there are bad shows. I haven't even seen them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Shaft has the peak for me. I would say that the 2 shows that I would say are the best animated are both Shaft shows.
I'm a big Monogatari and Monica guy.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Sound Voice is fantastic.
Sound Voice is also excellently animated.
Violet
Not a show
Evergarden.
though. Violet Evergarden.
No,
yeah, I might have to agree with you on the Violet Evergarden pick there.
Yeah, so. But they've just been consistently amazing for so long, and it's like they're just the KyoAni stamp. It's just like, yep, this is gonna be a pretty good show.
Sure.
Also, like their business practices, like they paid all their workers through COVID. They had like salaried workers.
Okay, I can respect that.
They like
That's
employ women.
Definitely admirable. Employing women.
They employ women
in Japan.
Yeah, that's
Good
fantastic.
for them.
They like train all their
Not
animators
being
and-
sexist.
Yeah, it's
Not
good.
being sexist is good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's keep going. Try to get through these at a good pace.
Yeah.
Do you ever get really bored watching an anime, even though it's widely praised?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Obviously.
all the time.
Oh,
I think that there are inconsistencies and low points. I think someone else asks later down the line if we value peaks or consistencies, but definitely more of a peaks crowd right here.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, definitely been bored during even shows that I like the most. Even Monster is my favorite anime. There were definitely points where I was bored watching that, even though it's widely praised and is now my favorite anime.
Yeah. Utna and Ava are some of my favorites, and goddamn are those first halves boring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really think it's the anime that have the most impactful parts to you that are going to stand out in your mind, not just ones that were entertaining. Because if you want something that's just consistently entertaining, then just watch daytime television, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just... if you're looking for some of those...
Go watch a sitcom, you know.
Really impactful things that are going to have a long-lasting effect on you going forward. Like,
They need some build-up.
Yeah,
There's just gonna be build-up. Build-up just isn't that exciting.
Yeah.
But it's worth it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Next one. Is there any character stronger than the creator from Umineko?
Never played Umineko, so I don't know.
I actually looked into this.
Oh, yeah?
I saw this question. Yeah. The answer is no. There is not.
Really?
Yeah. So you know the one above all from Marvel?
Yeah.
Not as strong as this guy.
Really?
Yeah. The
That
creator
is
is
kind of
from
wild.
what I looked up. The creator is a tier 0 character and
That's
completely unlimited in power within the universe.
I feel like
that it's
everyone's
in,
just been
or
talking about
multiverse,
Umineko
whatever.
recently. Did it come out? I don't know anything
I
about
don't I don't know much about Umineko, but looking into this character, my answer is no.
it. Nice.
Yeah, they're very soundly above Gurren Lagann.
Nah, Saitama would beat him.
Yeah, Saitama.
Just punch him. Yeah, just punch him. Yeah, obviously.
Saitama can't even breathe in space.
Yeah.
Defeat a boundless reality warping concept.
Yeah. Beat a concept.
Yeah. Okay. Let's keep going. Strongest characters in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
So
we talked about this all
we were
little
talking
before.
about this earlier, and how it's really interesting.
It's a really
how
interesting
there's-
concept. Question.
Yeah, it's really interesting because there's not a ton of variance in their power
There's
levels.
they're all fairly even. If it was a tiering system type of thing, they'd all be more or less on the same tier outside of God Mode Father.
It's really just God Mode Father in a tier, and then everyone else in the next tier.
Because I think you can say some characters are fairly definitively stronger than others, but it's not to the scope of something like Naruto or Hunter x Hunter, where, like, if you told me Killua, we're talking about in the anime, Killua would beat Meruem, like, you're just wrong.
Yeah, like
there's no debate on
argument,
that at all.
But if you
no
wanna-
one outside of 4 characters could even touch Naruto.
Yeah, like if you.
There's
But if you
just
want to
a
say
wide
Al
power
would
gap.
beat Roy, like maybe I disagree, but like
Yeah, I
you
don't
could make
agree,
the argument.
but you could probably make the argument.
Yeah, and I think
Even
that's
if you're
actually-
just saying that it would be hard to burn metal. Yeah. But I'd probably take guys like Roy or Bradley at the top.
Scar.
Their Scar, I would say, are the strongest character. Or Pride.
Yeah.
I would put as the strongest characters outside of Father. But it's not by a wide margin. I think that has a great impact on the fights in Full Metal Alchemist. I think that they're all pretty entertaining, especially given that it's not a blowout really ever.
Yeah.
They're always pretty balanced fights with a lot of back and forth, and I think that's a really good thing for that show.
And we kept comparing it to Hunter x Hunter because we just always compare the show to Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah.
Where we were saying like they kind of balance it a little better in the Chimera Ant arc, which does lead itself to more interesting fights.
Yeah.
And then we got into a couple more parallels where we were thinking about like how Roy versus Lust and Envy is kind of similar to Go and Vipito.
Yeah,
that was
pretty much the same fight if you think about it.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd take the Roy fights over the Gon fight, but
I would certainly take Roy versus Envy over the Gon versus P2 fight. I think that the P2 fight might have been more jarring because of who you saw Gon as, but I think that the exploration of Roy's perspective and him sort of slipping into this darkness after we've seen it more gradually develop throughout the series was more impactful to me, especially when you see the relationship with Hawkeye and how that plays out during the fight.
absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that he had more to sort of meditate on, and his guilt from participating in a war that was essentially an extinction was more interesting to me than Gon dealing with the situation that he was dealing with, to avoid spoilers. But
I'm sure
assuming most
everyone's
people have seen Hunter x Hunter,
because
but-
everyone's just a Hunter x Hunter
but
fan.
the death that Gon is dealing with.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
Yeah.
it's still taking Meryl and Vinetaro one.
yeah, I mean that is fair.
Yeah.
Continuing, why do you like Ava? I think this should just be a separate video at some point, honestly.
I was actually thinking of it. Like, I was like, how do I get an answer
How do you say
sort of
this
concise?
Yeah.
I suppose that I could sum it up by saying I enjoy how it sort of answers some those like questions that we all ask ourselves, and not necessarily like a novel way, but how they present how the characters don't know, but they kind of do. Like in all their internal monologues, the answer is always like obscured, and I think that is a fairly realistic depiction of that, because everyone kind of like does logically know the answers to the questions Ava poses.
Yeah.
But it's like how they show
How
Shinji
you get there.
coming to understand that.
Yeah.
And one thing about Ava that was actually really interesting is us and a couple of accounts are doing a rewatch, and one of the accounts, shout out at weeb.reviews, I think, was saying that he really liked the boring section of Ava. That section from 7 to 13.
Where absolutely nothing happens.
He was saying that it reminded him of
Magma
Mob
diving?
Psycho 100. In
Okay.
how Shinji like makes an effort to have positive change, right?
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really interesting perspective because then, and I think he was watching it for the first time. So if you're watching this, then spoiler alert, that doesn't really work out that well.
Yeah.
But I think it was showing how that sort of, that like superficial effort isn't really all that realistic, and like it's not going to work out. And you, as they say in the show, you can't just string together positive moments like a rosary, you know?
Yeah.
And
You have to actually go in and make the change in a deep way.
not even make the change, but like change
Be
your
consistent
perspective
about it, yeah.
you know, and like
Change your
find,
actions.
find something that will make life worth living even when it sucks,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty interesting, that it's not just superficial changes to make your life happier.
Yeah.
And that was an aspect of the series that I hadn't even thought of.
Fair.
Like those episodes really leading to anything other than building it to be a generic mecha shonen.
Sure. But to give a final conclusion answer on why we like Ava, most of it is the presentation and realizations and how they get there of the main cast in the last handful of episodes in the show, especially the last 2 episodes and the end of Evangelion movie, and the emotional depth that goes into that, which is probably just about the best in anime.
That's that would be the concise way of saying it.
Yeah, that would be the concise way.
The
At some
concise-
point, we'll do a detailed thing with Evangelion.
At
but
5K.
Not today.
At
Yeah,
5K.
5K.
At 5K. Evangelion review.
Yeah. You watching any new shows this season? We don't really watch seasonally. We prefer to spend more time on
Classic shows.
classics,
Shows
stuff that's
that
more established. Things
have
that,
some sort of acclaim.
yeah, things that we're more confident in being good, which I guess even further contributes to when we say that
Yeah.
5 is not that bad. Because
I mean, I think that
most of what we've seen is really highly rated stuff.
Yeah, to be honest, I think that you're a little harsher than I am, but I also
Yeah.
think I've just seen more bad stuff than you have.
Yeah.
Because I'm a little less strict on how much acclaim a show needs for me to watch it.
Sure.
And then, you know, shows that are classics will tend to be better if I look at people who I tend to agree with.
Yes.
So I prefer to just spend my time watching a show I'm probably going to like than watching Uzaki-chan wants to hang
Rent
out.
a girlfriend.
Yeah, Rent a Girlfriend. That's what I'm going to watch.
But we will be watching Attack on Titan season 4, which
Of
will
course.
be season. Yeah, because it's Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
Lelouch analysis: good guy versus bad guy.
I don't know.
I don't
To be
really know
honest,
either. I think that he develops more towards a good guy as the show goes on.
But I mean, I think minor spoilers, like towards the end when you kind of find out that he was not really changing that much,
Yeah,
kind of makes it interesting. And
Fair.
was he good or bad?
yeah,
It is interesting because he's a do the ends justify the means character, but he doesn't really give you an answer.
yeah.
You know,
No, he doesn't.
like I feel like it's like Fate Zero, and Fate Zero it's like does something similar, but like Fate Zero very much says no. You know,
Phase Zero says the ends do not justify the means.
It very much says it doesn't.
Yes. Griffith is a similar character. And Griffith's perspective is that the ends certainly justify the
From
means.
Griffith's perspective.
From Griffith's perspective, because Griffith did nothing wrong.
That's just factually incorrect.
But we'll continue. How good is Naruto Saga without fillers? Considering this would make pacing a lot better. So I have a good bit to say. Yeah.
Can I get my little bit in?
Yeah,
before the
you
Naruto
can
rant?
start before I.
I will say I don't really rate based on the Naruto filler because, to be honest, I skipped most of them, and even when I was watching while it was airing, like, whatever. I didn't really mind them too much. I will say, even without filler, the pacing's still pretty bad.
Yeah.
Continue.
You are right. The pacing is pretty bad even without the filler. Just to qualify this, I grew up watching Naruto. Naruto was my first anime. I started watching it when I was like 8. I watched it alongside the character's growth in terms of age. So always while watching Naruto, I was the same age as the main cast. I love Naruto to death because I grew up on it. It is one of my favorite shows. But there are a lot of problems with it. And it isn't the filler. Especially if you're going back and watching this show now, you can just look up which arcs are filler. what episodes are filler and just skip them.
Oh, yeah.
And even still, the filler is not even that bad.
It's not, I actually like a lot of the
Yeah, some of the filler arcs are pretty interesting and add to the world building of Naruto, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I enjoy the Naruto world building.
My problem with Naruto, outside of the pacing and some plot holes, which are issues, but my real big problem with Naruto is the ending. The ending of Naruto is horrible. Specifically, what happens with Kaguya at the end. Kaguya and Madara and that whole mess is just so painful to watch, so painful to even think about. Because you have this whole show that is centered on these villains who live on the crux of this world is not worth saving. It's not worth living in. We need to create this paradise that's going to be fake in a sense, but it's going to be a dream world where everyone's happy and we can escape the pain that we've seen through all these different characters' backstories.
Instrumentality.
Yeah, so essentially Evangelion, but shown through a different lens. And we don't get that. We are robbed of that through Kishimoto's shit writing at the end. We don't get to see what would happen in that dream world. It would have made much more sense for the characters to go into the dream world, for there to be some sort of conflict in that, even if it was like Sasuke's Rinnegan allows him to keep up the fight even though he's locked in the dream world. If we got Naruto talking to Madara, maybe Madara realizing why he's wrong and why the human experience is worth it, even though he went through a lot of suffering. Just some
Just
sort
everyone
of
clapping around him.
Yeah, everyone clapping and saying congratulations.
I mean, I love Talk No Jutsu, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with Naruto convincing villains of his perspective.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of what needed to happen at the end of the show for the thematic threads of it to make any sort of sense. But they don't at all. And they threw away the main thematic plot of Naruto. They threw it away entirely, and it is the worst writing blunder in anime by far, if not the worst blunder I've seen in storytelling as a whole. It's terrible. I think the fact that Madara isn't the best character in Naruto is astounding. He very much should be. If you had any sort of competent writing at the end of that show, Madara would be very easily the best character, as he was positioned to be for a long time in that show, for years. Yeah, so I'm mad about it still.
I actually love the Naruto versus Sasuke fight in the very end.
Yeah, I like that fight. It's a very good fight. I like it for the animation and the emotional conflict between them. But
No,
I think that it just, fuck that ending.
What's interesting is I actually think Talk No Jutsu is something that sets Naruto apart from a lot of the things that I don't necessarily like as much.
How so?
I feel like you don't get that a ton in like a lot of battle shonen.
Oh, the villain just gets defeated and that's it.
Yeah, the villain just gets defeated or dies or just sort of just joins the crew for no fucking reason.
Yeah.
I feel like you kind of get a little bit more into the villains with Naruto. I do enjoy that.
You're right. I do like the average Naruto villain is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Zabuza.
Yeah.
He's good.
Yeah, for what he is, just
like
an
Zabuza.
early villain that's just
So,
this
like,
fairly
first
short
villain.
arc. Yeah. Zabuza, pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, not really the filler, that's the problem. It's the ending.
Yeah, that's
The
fair.
pacing to a lesser extent, but it's the ending. The ending is awful.
Fair.
What's the PTW list looking like, and where's Kaiba on it? I have no idea what that means. Do you?
What's the plan to watch list looking like? And he wants us to watch Kaiba.
Okay. Maybe I'll watch Kaiba at some point.
Yeah, I've heard Kaiba's good.
Sure.
The plan to watch right now for me is, I think, just the Rose of Versailles after Onisama A, and then I don't know.
I don't really have much of a plan to watch list that I'm really thinking of going through. I just finished all of JoJo's, and I've been sort of just working lately. But I'll add Kaiba to the plans to watch list. Thanks for the rec.
Yeah.
Okay, let's scroll below. You think you would ever watch or read Dragon Ball? Probably not. I've seen some Dragon Ball when I was younger. From everything that I've heard, it's really similar to Naruto, but focused more on power scaling and battles than more writing-based, more emotional-based stuff in Naruto that I like. I don't think that it would appeal that specifically to me at my age at this point, but hey, maybe.
I could see myself watching like limited parts of it. I feel like the transition between Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z sounds really interesting to me. It's like, okay, so he's just this kid.
Yeah.
He's just like training martial arts.
Yeah.
And then these aliens come down and tell him he's an alien who's
And now he
way
can
more
blow up
powerful.
planets.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like I just kind of want to see that transition. I feel like if I was going to watch it, it would more so be to like see the sort of grandfather of all shonen.
Yeah, because that really what it is.
Like I did enjoy watching JoJo Part 1 for that reason, even though it was
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
So like even if Dragon Ball's bad, I could see myself enjoying it to a limited extent from just that.
Sure.
And then, yeah,
Okay.
that'd be my take on Dragon Ball.
Fair. Thoughts on Great Pretender on Netflix? I have no idea what that is. Do you?
It is a new show on Netflix that shout out at D4CU later. If I'm hope I'm pronouncing that right.
That's right.
Is he's just been touting it as his most recent 10.
Interesting. Is it an anime?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I've heard its production values are really good.
How long is it? Any idea?
I think it's like a one core thing.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'll watch it.
I
I generally like D4C's takes.
I've heard it's more focused on like the production than really anything else, but
Okay.
maybe,
Even still,
maybe he
watch it.
disagrees.
Okay. WTHRYS.
I don't know.
That means? I don't know what that
I have
means.
no idea.
Okay. Sorry, but we're gonna keep going. What makes an anime a bad anime, just in general? Generally, I think it's from a lack of direction in terms of what the series identity is going to be and what they're setting out to achieve, and a lack of likable characters or characters that have any sort of meaningful arc.
Yeah, I mean, I think to me at least, it's going to be either it's boring and doesn't try to do anything that's going to have a lasting impact on me.
Yep.
Or it tries to do something that'll have a lasting impact on me and
it
fails
doesn't.
miserably.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like, I feel like that's even worse than just being boring.
It is. Yeah, it is. It is. I'd
Which is
rather,
sad, 'cause, like-
I'd rather something aim low and hit their mark than aim high and really miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is very fair. Even though I would prefer if more shows tried to be some great, amazing thing, even if they did fail. I am perfectly fine wading through garbage to find a masterpiece rather
Yeah.
than just finding amazing 7 out of 10s always.
Sure.
So,
I agree. Best moments, best shonen, and best fights. Best fights we're going to do a segment on very soon, so not going to go through that now. The best shonen, in my opinion, is Gintama. Pretty handily. Love Gintama. Everything about it is great, especially the very end of the series, which is manga only at the moment, but I can't wait for the movie because it's going to be incredible.
yeah, I haven't seen Gintama, so I'm going to say Hunter x Hunter.
Fair.
Even though
Yeah. Also a very reasonable pick.
I do think it's a little overrated on the anime Instagram place.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just very accessible, but it's still a really good show. So
It is
I don't have
fantastic.
a huge problem with people rating it crazy high.
I do love Hunter x Hunter.
Hunter x Hunter is great. I don't know if Steel Ball Run counts as a shonen or not, or if I should be counting the totality of JoJo's if I was going to say that, but I am not sure. I may think Steel Ball Run is better than Gintama. I don't know where I stand on that one.
Big Steel Ball Run guy.
Steel Ball Run is really excellent. That was... I actually, I think there's a question about this later on in here. So
I think
I'll-
it's right there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, up in the
around
corner. Yeah, I'll talk about that when we get there. Best moments. I don't really want to get into that right now. That'll be more of a standalone thing, I think.
I mean, I'm an Ava stan, so I'm going to pick 8 Ava moments, and that's it.
That's fair. Yeah. Okay. I know you might not be the biggest fan, but what are your thoughts on Spirited Away?
I enjoy Spirited Away. I mean,
I enjoy Spirited Away a lot.
We have it as like a 5, and as we were saying, like that's not a bad score. It's a kids movie.
yeah.
It's a movie, so it doesn't have a ton of time to develop things.
Yeah,
but it's
movies are inherently at a disadvantage just because
time constraints.
time constraints.
Yeah, and then it's a kids movie, and it's like it's a fun kids movie at that too,
Yeah.
and I enjoy it. I kind of think it's really similar to Coraline.
Yeah, I agree. It is really similar to Coraline.
I prefer Coraline, even though Coraline's the
do too.
scariest movie of all time.
Yeah,
it's not
that's-
close. By the way, it's not close.
Yeah, okay. Coming from the I don't watch horror movies guy, Coraline is the scariest movie of all time. But Spirited Away is pretty good. I agree. It's somewhere around a 5 in terms of a rating scale. But again, that's not an insult. It's a kid's movie, and it doesn't really have a whole ton of character development.
I mean, she does a little
Sen
bit, but
has
not a
she has a
ton.
little bit of character development, but it's not really enough to carry a movie. I don't think it has a whole ton of thematic depth or development in that sort of way.
I've heard it. I've heard people go
The
through
animation's
like analysis.
great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the animation's great. It sounds beautiful, and Studio Ghibli did an amazing job. I don't really know how highly I could rate a kids movie. It would be really tough. I think that Alice in Wonderland is an example of a kids movie that I would probably rate fairly highly. I know you really like WALL-E, which I haven't seen.
Oh, WALL-E's so good though. You should watch it.
I should watch it.
See, it's interesting because I don't necessarily think being a kids movie necessarily completely limits something. Because
It doesn't. It's just most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, WALL-E
it's
makes
very restricted.
WALL-E makes a fairly good statement on like environmentalism and stuff. I love that movie. And it's also just visually great.
Yeah, I'll definitely watch WALL-E at some point. But yeah, thoughts on Spirited Away. We like it. Don't rate it that highly because it's a kids movie.
It is interesting because I do consider it like one of like the Mount Rushmore of like anime classics.
Yeah, we talk about this. There is a clear-cut Mount Rushmore of four anime classics that are the pillars of the medium and are just very defining in the development of the art form.
And just like the fandom. And I mean, I'd consider those to be Akira, Evangelion, Cowboy Bebop, and Spirited Away. I feel like every anime fan who's like into watching classic anime and not just sticking to seasonal stuff, which is fine too.
Yeah.
Has seen those and has an opinion.
Yes.
And has a different opinion.
Yeah, they're also very contested.
Yeah.
I'd say Cowboy Bebop probably the least.
Yeah. It's like everyone likes Bebop.
Everybody likes Bebop.
No one hates Spirited Away. Like
Nobody hates Spirited Away. Yeah,
Like,
it's
you
not
totally-
offensive by any means.
you could totally hate Evangelion. I know plenty of people do.
Yeah,
Or like Akira.
yeah. I'm not a huge fan of Akira, but
Neither am I.
yeah,
But like, you can't really hate Spirited
you can't
Away.
hate Spirited Away. Yeah. Okay. Plot-driven story versus character-driven with explanation.
I think we're
Well,
both.
since we're talking, we'll give an explanation.
Wow.
But
I think we're both character driven here.
I think we're both character driven. I think I will probably rate something that's. It really depends. I think that for something to be completely character driven and to the point where it's essentially lacking a plot, it needs to really nail that character arc. So I'd use Pun Pun as my example. Pun Pun has no conceivable plot whatsoever.
What are you talking about? That Pegasus plot was
So
entertaining.
So entertaining. No conceivable plot whatsoever, but Pun Pun is completely perfect just because the character arc of Pun Pun is so goddamn good. But generally, I do like to have a plot that keeps me grounded in the story and entertained. It's really great when they can just mix these together and make it interesting. Berserk, Monster would be good examples of that.
I mean, I think that my like super highly rated works tend to be more character driven, but my like 7s and 8s tend to be more plot driven.
Yeah.
You know? And I kind of think that's.
But when
how
they
I
can
think
tie it
means.
together, and you're a huge Fate fan.
Oh, yeah.
I would argue that Fate is very much both.
Yeah, Fate is both. I mean, I do think the lore is nonsense, so that definitely detracts a little bit from the plot.
Sure.
But no, the plot's very entertaining of Fate and also for the characters. But really, I would rather have a bad plot and good characters because I will just inherently care about the
Yes,
plot
absolutely.
than a good plot with horrible characters. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's like, okay, like
It's almost tough to do.
it's sort of like you're like running and it's like you're running on empty and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, you like finish it and then it's just like there's just nothing there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like,
I agree. Steel Ball Run, worth reading before the anime. JoJo anime adds a lot, in my opinion, more than others. So I actually read Steel Ball Run before I watched JoJo. Steel Ball Run was, I watched part 1 and then went right into Steel Ball Run.
you just like the 1800s.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if JoJo was for me or if it was something I was going to enjoy. It is. I like JoJo quite a lot. I have now done all of JoJo. But I knew that I wanted, yes, besides part 8, I knew that I wanted to read Steel Ball Run because of the high acclaim it has, especially among people that I tend to agree with. I think that you can read Steel Ball Run. I'll probably get hate for this, but I think you can read Steel Ball Run without much other JoJo experience. It is a soft reboot of the series. There are definitely some callbacks to other JoJo parts, but I don't think it would really take much away from the reading experience if you didn't get those references. But if you know anything about JoJo, like if you know who Dio is, then you're gonna get most of those references anyways.
Dio.
But Steel Ball Run is great. It is by far and away the best part of JoJo. Scott hasn't read it yet, and he's probably going to be very surprised when he sees the jump in writing quality that happens when you get to Steel Ball Run.
Well, you compared it to Heaven's Feel, so I'm reasonably excited.
I mean, hey,
Hey.
I think it's better than Heaven's Feel. So
I think Heaven's Feel is better than you think it is.
that is also true. Okay, let's keep going. What do you think makes anime special as an artistic medium? It's a great question.
This is a great question. I mean, I think that just animation in general can just really
Do
get
more.
It can just do more. It's not as limited. Like, you don't have sort of like uncanny valley kind of things like with CGI. It's like you can really represent anything you want, and I think that it lends itself very well to some of the more psychological stories, which tend to be some that I really enjoy. And then at the same time, and I talked about this a little bit in my Q&A posts, even when they go for something more realistic, the fact that they don't have to makes the realism more important and makes me pay attention to it more and appreciate it more.
Yeah.
So I definitely enjoy either way over on the spectrum where you couldn't do this in live action at all, and it's just all in people's minds and crazy colors and whatever, or just completely realistic and grounded stories. I tend to prefer. And then anime versus just like other animation. It's just taken more seriously. Like,
It is just taken more seriously.
I mean, like, I'm watching Avatar right now, and I will withhold my opinions on that series. I do enjoy it. I'm not criticizing Avatar right now, but like every other just like well-respected Western cartoon I've seen just doesn't hold a candle to. Like,
besides BoJack.
okay, yeah, besides BoJack, sorry about that. But I feel like a lot of these like kid shows that are really well-respected just kind of borrow a lot from shonen anime and don't do it as well.
Yeah,
You know?
more or less. Yeah, Western animation just isn't as serious.
For the TV shows or
Yeah.
for like adult comedies, which are range from bad to okay.
Yeah,
Besides BoJack.
besides BoJack. What I like about anime a lot, especially compared to other art forms, is I think it's more versatile and incorporates more elements that lead to a greater ceiling than other mediums. So take movies. Movies have this time constraint that they have to overcome that is such a blockage on getting long-running, effective character and thematic development that you can reach this much greater ceiling on with limitless time space that you have in anime.
Yeah.
I think compared to music, there's visuals and really beautiful and impactful visuals at that. And then anime also includes music in itself. Compared to books, again, there are visuals.
Voice acting.
There's voice acting. There's
Music.
Compared to manga, there's movement, color.
Yeah.
There's just, in any comparison you can make like that, there are just more elements in anime, and in my perspective, that gives anime a higher ceiling.
Yeah, I think it's really just video games that I think have like more elements.
Yeah. And video games, and I think video games are coming a long way, and I can see video games getting to the point as an art form where I'm seeing these video game stories with these elements of art that we're considering so highly, that I think are some of the best pieces of art out there. Even already, I think Bloodborne is absolutely phenomenal. I would say Bloodborne is a better work than most anime that I've seen.
It's just so fucking hard. I haven't played
It
it.
is hard. Yeah. It's actually derived
I'm
off.
stuck.
Yeah, it's actually derived from the conviction arc of Berserk, and I think it's better than the conviction arc of Berserk
So do I.
the way that it presents its story. Yeah. But yeah, I know that people say Nier Automata is sort of Evangelion-like and presents a lot of ideas like that, but I have yet to play it. So
Yeah.
but video games are great. I will probably be playing more games like that in the future and have a better perspective there.
Yeah, I feel like anime just has, like you were saying, it just has so much creative freedom.
So much
Just to
creative
sum it
freedom.
up,
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
can just
You can just do
represent anything,
and you can do it to the level of detail and
That you
length
want.
that
Yeah.
you want. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
great.
And that's it. Top 5 female MCs, mayhaps. Well, we just did our top 15 female characters, so
I hope we have 5 MCs in there.
I don't know if we do. I was actually trying to think of that. I think my MCs, we have Utna.
Yeah.
Mine jumps right to Lane, and she's my 5, I think.
Well,
Yeah.
I will check.
I don't know if there are
really
5
quickly.
main characters in
think,
there.
I think I might, because I have a couple. I've seen a couple more shows that focus on women. I think.
I have Violet on my list, I know.
I have Utena, Kumiko, Lane, Nana, Sakura. So that's my 5.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll call that a 5.
That's
Keep
a
going.
5.
Charismatic and strong characters or mentally weak characters with faults. Reinhard or Shinji, for example.
I mean, I prefer Shinji.
And I prefer Reinhard. I think Shinji is a better character.
I think it just
Comes down to execution.
It comes down to execution. See, what's interesting is I would take Utena as a charismatic or like strong character, you
True.
know, and I
Yeah.
consider her very highly. So I do
Yeah.
think it comes down to execution. I think that someone like Shinji in their mental, what was the word they used?
Weakness.
Yeah, the mental weakness sort of explores some themes that I find a little more interesting than some of the ones explored by more strong characters. But if
Yeah.
you can explore a theme that's strong enough, then I'm fine with them being strong. Like Reinhard exploring benevolent autocracy and sort of his
Yeah.
political depth is very interesting. No,
Yeah.
with gender roles.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think I have too much of a preference.
Yeah, I don't think that either of these archetypes, if you will, are inherently better than the other. I can think of examples in a reverse direction, like, and I consider both of these characters to be very good, but I think that Griffith is a significantly better character than Rei Kiriyama, for instance. I think that Griffith's presentation of do the ends justify the means, the decisions he goes through, the development you see, his perspective on the world is more interesting than Rei, who deals with
Similar problems with Shinji. I haven't seen the show.
similar problems as Shinji. A lot of like depression and mental baggage, and how he tries to overcome that, how that relates to Shogi and the people around him. But even though I think he's a well executed character, I don't think he's anywhere near as well written of a character as Griffith or Reinhard, for that example. So I don't think that it has anything to do with the type of character they are. It's 100% just how well they are executed.
And how well that, like, whatever archetype they are fits whatever they're exploring.
What they're doing, yeah. Fair. Least favorite genre / character tropes, and how important are visuals to you in an anime?
Well, that's 2 separate questions. That's
That
like
is-
3 separate
yeah,
questions.
that is. Least favorite genre. I don't have one. I don't have a least favorite genre.
I don't think I really have one either. I like
Yeah,
pretty much
I
all
like-
genres.
Yeah,
It's whatever. If something's well done, I'll watch it.
yeah. Character tropes for me is definitely infantilized women. I really don't like how it seems anime will present this kind of sexist portrayal of women, where you have especially girls who are older, like Mayuri, for instance, who's 16 to 18 and is treated like a mentally handicapped 7-year-old. I just don't think it's appropriate or beneficial to the story in any way. Just make your female characters legitimate characters with motivations and
Agency.
characterization, agency. Yeah, just write female characters how you would write male characters. Don't make them,
Absolutely.
and don't make them objects either.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
So the treatment of women, especially in more,
Shonen, seinen.
more male-focused,
Male-oriented.
anime would be my biggest gripe.
That's completely fair. And this sort of plays into that. How, like, blatant just sexual assault for comedy is in anime really bugs me.
Yes. When it's just commonplace for guys to accidentally grab a girl's boob, and then it should be uncomfortable, but then it's somehow funny, and then the guy's also into it, even though that's not good.
Yeah, and then it's just a fantasy for the viewer, too.
And
And then, like, I know you haven't seen it, but in Haruhi, there's just this, like, it happens several times where she assaults another girl. But, like, there's this one scene where she's trying to get the computer club to give her a computer. So what she does is she takes a camera, she pushes the computer club president into one of her club members so that they'll have that situation, and then takes a picture, blackmails him, And then it's like, what the and this is a comedy scene. And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah,
this is horrible.
That is outrageously horrible.
That is horrible.
Yeah, that is.
And it's like, it kind of took me out of the show, and I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
See, that's why Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumi is really good, because she disappears.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. How important are visuals in anime to us? I think that when the visuals can make a really effective use of the medium, when visuals are going to add a lot to the story, to the presentation of like a character's mentality.
Yeah.
Evangelion being a very good example of that, especially at the end.
I mean, I love the last 2 episodes. That's my hot take. The visuals of the last 2 episodes of Evangelion are perfect.
Amazing, yeah.
They do it in an interesting way that isn't common, and fuck the budget argument. That's just, at least for 26, that's not what happened. I do think it is what happened for 25, but
Fair.
I think the style was intentional and was very effective.
Fair. But in general, I think visuals can add a lot. I really appreciate the visuals in Madoka Magica, for instance. It added a lot to the witch fights.
The witches.
Yeah, they were just gorgeous.
So good.
That was the only thing I could even think about when I was watching these witch fights. I wasn't even
That's
thinking.
fair.
I wasn't even thinking about the circumstances for the characters. I was just looking at the art. This is amazing. Shaft did an absolutely incredible job there.
Absolutely.
So it's not the most important thing.
It's not the most important
Definitely
thing.
prefer things like thematic and character development.
Absolutely.
But
It can help.
Visuals are great.
It can help.
For sure. Definitely can help.
I mean, it can get me watching a show I wasn't necessarily interested in.
Yeah.
So, like, Monogatari, for instance. Monogatari is great. Has all the character development that I could ever want in a show.
Yeah.
But, like, the first episode, it's like... When the, like, character development moments were a little too few and far between in Bake Monogatari, and there's too much fan service, and I'm like, okay, is this really what I want to be watching right now?
Yeah.
But then it's like, the visuals
They
are
just
just
keep you in it.
incredible,
Yep.
and I'm just like... It was weird when I was watching Bake Monogatari. I specifically noticed how they just drew the trees with like the fade from like white at the bottom to black
Yep.
at the top, and I'm
Yep.
just like, this is just so beautiful.
It's so cool.
I just
Yeah.
can't take my eyes off
Monogatari is
it.
gorgeous.
I just can't take my eyes off it.
Yep.
And then so I sat through the annoying fan service and found a pretty fantastic show.
Yeah. Fair.
So I suppose visuals help there.
Yeah. Animated shows. That's the question. I
No.
assume-
He's saying, do you find yourself paying attention to voice acting quality more in anime or in Western animated shows? I think they're just better in anime. For the most part. Other than BoJack, that's just sort of like...
BoJack is just the exception. I thought that was just a question saying animated shows, sort of asking for our best animated shows, and I was going to say, again, just BoJack is just far and away better than... I don't even know what would be other great animated shows. South Park.
it's just
South Park's good.
Like, I love South Park.
Rick and Morty, Archer. But even like Family Guy, I am not a fan of Family Guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe there are shows that I haven't seen in Western animation that are really good, but it's BoJack, and it's not even sort of close.
Yeah, it seems to be like BoJack is sort of the best adult cartoon that's sort of...
Yeah.
Because the rest are like Family Guy. It's like, okay, this isn't that entertaining.
It's really like if we took this anime community we have here and we all just played one-on-one basketball against LeBron James.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's about the level of
Anime's just
competition I
take it
think
more
there is.
seriously. Like, it just is...
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
Yep.
Other than that.
Yep. Okay. More highs or more consistent?
Or high, sorry.
Definitely the highs. Definitely peaks that are standouts. I think if you watch a show that's just consistently entertaining and you get through it, you're probably not even going to think about that show in a few months. It's just going to be entertaining to watch in the meantime, but it's not going to stick out to you. It's not going to have a lasting impact on you like a show with huge peaks that are impactful and lead to these great character moments, great story moments.
Absolutely. I mean,
they're just more important. I understand wanting to be consistently entertained, but I don't think it's as valuable.
I tend to just rate on the impact a show has on me.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, if you go through my top tier shows, it's like, yeah, most of these are pretty boring for a lot of it, but it's like they just have this moment that's just stuck with me and sort of changed my perspective on something, and I go back to it and think about it constantly, and it informs my everyday decisions, and it's like that. That's like a show that, like, if it does that, it's just I'm rating it highly, you know?
Valid. Very valid. Do you prefer to read / watch, or binge read and watch, or pace yourself? You pace yourself most of the time. I fly through things at a alarming rate.
You finishing UBW in like a day was scary.
I watched all of Fate UBW in a day. I watched all of One Punch Man in a day. I watched all of Parasite in a day. I watched Gintama in 2.5 weeks.
I was impressed by Nana in 4 days for me. Which was 47 episodes.
When I am trucking through anime, I am trucking through anime.
I feel like sometimes when people say pace themselves, they mean like a weekly release schedule, like for like a seasonal show, and I don't like that.
Yeah, I definitely would rather just watch it all at once.
Yeah. I definitely want the TV I'm watching to be like
Yeah.
a consistent thing that I just keep going through.
Sure.
So I would put myself more on the binge side than pacing myself to side.
okay.
More so, I think you might disagree just because you watch things really, really fucking fast.
Yeah. How does FLCL represent so much without actually showing its meaning directly?
I think it does show its meaning directly. I think that it obscures a lot of what it like says behind just weird comedy and wacky scenes, but I think it wears its heart on its sleeve.
Yeah.
I think it's always direct in its message.
It's pretty apparent what the show's about. I mean, it can be confusing at times, but the show is in essence about the hypocrisy of the adult world and what the process of maturation looks like in that.
Yeah, and like what is maturity and sort of like how
is it real?
Is it real? Do you how do you become like honest with your feelings and like what's the value in that?
Yeah.
I think it wears its heart on its sleeve. I don't think it doesn't
That
show something.
that Reddit post though.
Oh yeah.
People should read that. What is it?
If you Google what FLCL means to me, then it'll pop
You'll
up.
get a
I think
Reddit
it's
link.
by Rob Cameron Fowler.
Good memory.
Yeah, I've read it like 5 times.
Yeah,
so
but that is an amazing analysis.
Absolutely.
After reading FLCL, I was very confused. I read that, and it gave me very definitive opinion on the show that was much higher than having just watched it.
Oh, when we were watching that, and you're just like, "Why are you making me watch this?" And
I was super.
And I didn't want to like explain it all at once. And I was like, I just like it.
Yeah,
the soundtrack's really good.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely recommend checking that out. One of the better analyses I've read on any platform.
Oh, it's so good.
It is really good. Do you think the Golden Age could have been stretched out longer?
Not without like major changes.
Yeah, not without major structural changes to what Berserk is. What you have to think of with the Golden Age is it is a backstory.
Yeah.
Like backstories usually aren't anywhere near that long. Golden Age is almost a third of the current runtime of Berserk. Yeah. It is by far the best backstory ever written. I don't think it's even close. Very easily the best backstory ever written, and it is always on everybody's mind during every panel they read of Berserk after that point.
Oh yeah. I mean the impact, the end of the Golden Age has
incredible
throughout the rest of Berserk. At least where I am, is just everything is because of that.
Yes, everything is because of that, and all of the emotions that fuel the rest of the series are because of the Golden Age.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only way you can make it longer is if you made it a little more stylistically similar to like Legend of Galactic Heroes and tried to like really go into the the stuff. But that's just not what it was about.
It was very much about the characters' relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't change a goddamn thing about Golden Age because I think it's perfect.
Golden Age is pretty fantastic.
If we were to make an anime, what would it look like? It would a lot of people talking to each other about emotions.
It would probably be Monogatari with less fan service.
Yeah, more or less Monogatari with less fan service. How do you think Berserk is going to end? Happy ending? Bittersweet? Depressing? I think there are happy moments in Berserk?
I think they're all going to have dinner together, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, everyone's going to kiss and make up, and it's going to be happy fucking dandy.
Oh, it's going to be great.
6 of you are reading Vagabond. I don't really know what that means.
6 of us?
There's 2 of us, but I am reading Vagabond. I like it so far, but I'm on chapter 6, so I don't really. Maybe that's where the 6 came from.
Yeah, maybe.
So I don't really have much of a perspective on it so far. But reading Vagabond, just based on popular opinion, what I hear, I think it is the thing that I could read or watch right now that I am most likely to rate the highest. So that's why I'm reading it. And I'm sure it's going to be great.
Fair.
What makes a great fight and top 5 Naruto fights? I think there's 2 major components to a fight. There's the visual element and what you're seeing on screen, how epic, how cool the fight looks, what the
spectacle of
animation
it.
looks like. Yeah, the spectacle of it, the theatrics, and then there is the meaning of the fight, the emotions the characters are displaying, what's being fought over, what's being resolved in the fight.
Like how does the conflict represent itself as the fight?
Yeah.
And I mean,
What is the psychological conflict buried in this physical conflict?
and like how do they express that through the physicality of it?
Yeah.
Like I think Fate Zero was really good at this, especially in that last fight with
Yep.
Kuretsugu and Kirei. It's like they don't talk,
Yeah.
but like you just get so much out of like their battling ideology through the fight itself.
Yeah.
And that was
that's
fantastic.
an argument you usually make for Obito and Kakashi too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which leads into the second part of this guy's question, which is top 5 Naruto fights.
Well, at number 1, should we go 5 to 1? I don't necessarily have a list.
I don't have a list off the top of my head. Let's just try to come up with 5 fights.
I'm gonna go with Obito versus Kakashi as my number 1.
I wasn't going to try to rank them.
right.
I'm fine with that being number 1. It's either that or the Naruto pain fight. I think those
My
are gotta be the
number
top
2
two.
is Naruto Sasuke at the end.
That's very valid. I think that definitely has to land in the top 5. I would probably take
So 2 other fights.
2 other
Oh
fights.
Jesus, there's so many.
There are so many. I would probably take Madara versus the 5 Kage. Just for the impact it has on the rest of the show and how well it's able to present this unbeatable threat that Madara presents.
Do you want them to use Susanoo or not?
Yeah, like that's like the most badass moment ever. He's not even trying, and he's just beating up, just killing these 5 ninja that are the representation of the nations. They're supposed to be the strongest member of each nation. He's not even trying. They finally get to a point where they feel like they're doing something, and he's like, "Oh, 5-on-1 isn't fair," and he clones himself into 25 copies, and then asks if they want the 25 copies use Susanoo.
Oh, it's sick.
It's just, what do you even do?
See, my problem is I was thinking Rock Lee versus Gaara. So
Oh
it's a
yeah, no,
classic.
that has to be in there.
But then we do see Hashirama versus Madara animated, don't we? At the end of their backstory arc,
Do
don't
we?
we? I thought we did. Or is that just in the game?
I think it's in the video game.
Is
I
it in
think
the
that's
video
where we're
game?
getting that
Amazing.
from. Yeah, I think we got that from the video
Okay,
game. I
well,
don't
if
think
that's in the
the
video
anime.
game, then not that. But if it's in the show, then totally
then
that. Because
yeah.
that arc is
Yeah.
so good.
No, Rock Lee and Gaara has to be in there. So if Madara versus Hashirama's there, then take out him and the 5 Kage.
Fair.
And then our 5 would be Obito Kakashi, Pain versus Naruto,
Naruto v Sasuke.
Lee versus Gaara. I wasn't doing it in order.
Oh, okay.
Lee versus Gaara, Sasuke versus Naruto, and one of the 2 Madara fights.
Fair. Cool.
Parasite versus Chimera Ant arc.
This is all you, dude. I haven't seen Parasite.
Yeah, I think that I understand your basis for comparing these two. They essentially have the same themes and try to do the same thing. They both tackle the gradient between monster and man and what that means. I think that Chimera Ant does it better. I think that Meruem's journey in coming to understand humanity is more compelling than Parasite. I also think a lot of the side elements, if you will, all the side characters are certainly better in Chimera Ant. Like if you take out Shinichi and Meruem, the 2 primary characters in each of these pieces, Chimera Ant has a lot of other really compelling characters who go through their own developments and conflicts. Parasite really doesn't. It is really focused on Shinichi.
How would you compare Meruem and Shinichi?
I definitely think Meruem is better.
Okay.
But that was the first thing I said, was I think that his journey through that conflict of man versus monster is more compelling.
Fair.
But I really like Parasite a lot. As I said earlier, I watched the whole show in a day.
I still think you're nuts.
Yeah, so I wouldn't fault anybody for saying
reverse.
Parasite's better. Yeah, sometimes I'll say that just as like a qualifier, but no, I can understand that perspective.
Fair.
Okay, let's keep going. What are some of the best written anime? In terms purely of writing, I want to say Monster and Galactic Heroes.
Yeah, if we're talking like on a very technical level.
Technical writing level, Monster and Legend of the Galactic Heroes.
And
Those have
it's
gotta be the.
not that close.
Yeah, it's definitely those 2.
It's those 2,
Yeah,
at
it's
least
those
from
2.
what I've seen.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep, definitely those 2. Rank Ghibli movies.
I've seen 2, and
I've
you've
seen
seen 2,
and they're not the same 2.
Yep.
But I guess if we combine our lists,
if we combine our lists and we can rank the 3 Ghibli movies we've seen, it would go Princess Mononoke number 1,
which you've seen,
which I've
and
seen.
you think is better than Spirited
This
Away,
I think is better than Spirited Away. Spirited Away,
which
2,
we've both seen,
and
then Grave of the Fireflies, which I've seen and think is worse than Spirited Away, which I'm sure I'll get hate for now.
yeah.
So there's my my Grave of the Fireflies take. Give me hate. 4 out of 10.
Yeah.
Just bring
Give
it on.
hate.
Bring it on.
Did you ever have? Do you want to talk about why you like math, or not really?
Oh, I do talk. I've talked to this guy about math.
Okay.
Did you ever have an inspiration which got you to enjoy math, or have you always just liked it? Math sucks. I'm just kind of good at it and want a job in it.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion on math.
Wait, are you ever going back to Rap Thought World?
Yeah, I'm
probably.
not.
Yeah, you're not. We're thinking this is going to be posted on this YouTube. Thinking about in the future doing weekly album discussions at some point, maybe.
It'd be really-
so that would be very tied to Rap Thought World.
We could do a podcast just expanding on what we were doing earlier with the Rolling Stone Top 500 albums.
Yeah, that would be interesting. We just flipped through the top 500 albums of all time list that Rolling Stone magazine just put
Published.
out, and we were critiquing that.
Critiquing. Oh yeah.
Critiquing. Shitting on.
Hey, it was better than the last one.
It was better than the last one, but the last one was laughably horrible, so that's not really
That's
saying
fair.
much. Even with YouTube, will you guys still be posting on Instagram?
Yep, absolutely.
Yep,
Absolutely.
definitely. Not much to say there. Do you guys both love Evangelion? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, big fans of Evangelion. Is Parasite better than a Chimera Ant arc?
This was asked before.
No. Yeah. And then what's your opinion on Black Clover?
Haven't seen it. This
Yeah.
was an anticlimactic ending.
That was an anticlimactic ending.
But this was fun.
Yeah, this was fun.
Tell us what you enjoy about having a video Q&A.
Yeah. Do you prefer this to our question stories? I think it's more fun to be able to elaborate on things, and hopefully at some point we can maybe transition this into more of a live feed type of deal where we can get questions from you while we're talking about it. But definitely prefer going into detail as opposed to posting a very limited answer on an Instagram story.
Absolutely, and hopefully you guys getting the limited amount of our personalities that you can get out of this sort of video
Helps a little bit.
outweighs the awkwardness in talking into a microphone.
Yeah. And when this isn't our second time recording something, then maybe we'll be a little more.
Hopefully we'll be a little better. So
Yeah.
sorry for all the uhs and ums and likes and sortas.
We'll learn how to
Kindas.
speak. We'll learn how to speak publicly.
Yeah,
at
we'll
some
learn
point.
how to talk good.
Yeah, talk good. And that's that.
That's it.
Cool. Take care.
Goodbye, guys.